I don't know about you, but I'm not ready to say goodbye to 2019. I know we're almost a month into the new year, but there's still a lot of games from the last few months that I still want to talk about. Today we're going to do some 2019 cleanup and review some of the games that I missed in the last year. And because I have so many games to get through, this will probably continue into at least one more episode. But before we look ahead, it's time to finally review Demoniaca, Everlasting Night, Football Game, Driven Out, and One Person Story. Let's clean this place up. Demoniaca, Everlasting Night is one of those games that I've been wanting to review for a long time now. I fully intended to have a review go up around the time of release back in September, but that was also around the time that I came down with a bad case of the flu and everything got pushed back. And this isn't even the first time that this has happened. If you go back and watch my Avon Colony review, you'll hear that I tease a preview of the game way back in 2017. Now it's too late for a full review, but that's not going to stop me from recommending this hidden gem. The simple elevator pitch is that Demoniaca is a cross between Castlevania and the King of Fighters. It's the kind of game where you explore a giant castle and beat up bad guys, only this time around the game kind of controls like an SNK fighting game, complete with quarter circle fireballs and uppercuts. Instead of finding new items that open up the map, we master new moves that make our hero an unstoppable force that even rivals Alucard. What holds this game back is the stiff gameplay. This is one of those games that takes a little getting used to, especially when it comes to fighting monsters. There are a couple of different buttons for the kicks and punches, and it's not only as user-friendly as I would have hoped. But once you get the hang of it, the combat opens up to reveal a deep and involving system that rewards patience and practice. That said, the platforming action could stand to be loosened up a bit. My biggest complaint is the lackluster location we're stuck in. This is very much a generic castle that is dark and shadowy. Even though we're given a big world to explore, the backgrounds all kinda look the same, and they aren't memorable in any way. A concept this cool deserves a much more imaginative setting. When it comes down to it, the star here is the combat, and that's where the game really excels. The gameplay is a little stiff and the backgrounds are too repetitive, but fans of Castlevania and SNK's fighting games are going to find a lot to like about Demoniaca Everlasting Night. With the Super Bowl just over a week away, I wanted to get prepared by playing a football game. I wasn't going to settle for just any old football game because I wanted to play the football game. A point-and-click adventure that's all about alcoholism, teenage relationships, and sneaking into your mom's bedroom. This is one of those games with a misleading title. If you go into football game expecting to throw Hail Marys and call audibles, then prepare to be disappointed, because this shot right here with the goalpost in the distance is about as close as we get to the actual sport. But I'm fine with that, because I found this hour-long story to not only be compelling, but also well told. It has an offbeat style reminiscent of David Lynch and leaves you with more questions than answers. It's the kind of game where you'll immediately want to replay the story to piece everything together. Without giving too much away, you play high school football star Tommy Taylor. He's a bit of a drinker, but it's the 1980s and hey, everybody loves him. All he wants to do is find his sexy girlfriend and go to the big football game, but everything just keeps getting in the way. Life is so unfair. Now, most of my problems with this game involve the gameplay, which doesn't translate well to the controller. Everything is played with a cursor to the point where you can't even move Tommy around the room without clicking. This interface makes getting around a pain, especially when there are so many pictures and people and items to accidentally interact with. So it's probably worth mentioning that Football Game was created by UK-based developer Cloak and Dagger Games. I bring that up because there are a number of odd word choices and phrasings that reminded me that this is definitely not written by an American. Look, that's normally not an issue, but so much of this game references American culture and even specific cities in the US. Seeing a mailbox referred to as a letterbox breaks the illusion a bit. I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but they probably should have had an American take a glance at some of the colloquialisms. Minor nitpicks aside, Football Game is a well-told story in a bite-sized game. Although it barely lasts an hour, I spent a lot of time pondering what it all means and putting the pieces together. It's the kind of thing that stuck with me longer than it lasted, something that doesn't always happen these days. Just don't go in expecting to score a touchdown. Hey, do you remember that old game Karateka? It was the game Jordan Mechner made right before working on Prince of Persia and involved a series of intense one-on-one battles. Driven Out is basically a medieval version of Karateka, and it's by far the hardest game I played in 2019. This is the story of a young villager who is forced to fight for her life when a mysterious device lands in her yard. Through a series of almost comical events, she picks up a sword and goes to battle against knights, werewolves, giant crows, insects, and all kinds of other ghouls and ghosts. But this isn't just another hack and slash action game, because every single enemy you come across has a pattern you'll need to memorize and exploit. This is a purposely challenging game where the focus is on watching the animation and reacting to the right attacks. You have several different swings, along with a few defensive moves you'll need to employ if you want to stay alive. The good news is you can set that magical device down and use it kind of like a checkpoint, allowing you to respawn and have a second try at the monster that killed you. Now, even if Driven Out isn't for you, it's hard not to be impressed by what No Rest Productions has managed to accomplish. The 16-bit world they've constructed is not only gorgeous, but also varied. Every stop on your journey looks dramatically different, and I love how the bad guys keep getting bigger and more intimidating. Our hero is constantly outmatched, which is why finally defeating the enemies felt so damn satisfying. Those victories are definitely sweet, but I'd be lying if I said that I didn't spend most of the time screaming profanities at the television. Like I said, this game is hard. Learning how to defeat each enemy only means dying a bunch of times in order to learn the patterns. Oh, it's definitely not the kind of game for everybody, and maybe that's a good thing. We don't get a lot of games like this anymore, so it's nice to see one this ambitious. I love a lot about this game, and I have no problem recommending it, but make sure you know what you're getting yourself into before buying Driven Out. Another game I played in 2019 but didn't get a chance to review was One Person Story by Defunct Games. This is a minimalist action puzzle game where you star as a purple ball bouncing around a series of narrow levels. Instead of directly controlling the ball, it's your job to open up the doors and interact with the stage in order to make it possible for the ball to move on. This is a simple concept, but the levels have a funny way of ratcheting up the difficulty. You'll quickly have to rely on other bouncing balls, dodge spikes, explore in the dark, and so much more. There are 100 stages here, each with their own special quirk and story beat. The narrative is told through inspirational messages that directly connect with what you're doing in each level. That said, don't expect a deep and involving plot in One Person Story, because this is very much simple and surface level. Learning the different mechanics can be fun, but I found that the simplistic action got old quickly. This is a short game that plows a lot of familiar ground. I feel like the game would have benefited from a deeper story or something else to hook the players. It's a solid game that I don't regret playing, but I'm not sure I'm going to remember it a few months from now. Hey, thanks for watching us review these 4 games. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What 2019 game do you still intend to play? Let me see your picks in the comments below. Like I said at the top, I still have a few more 2019 games to talk about, so expect at least one more of these features in the near future. In fact, I want to make this type of recap show a regular feature because there really are a lot of games that I want to cover, but they probably won't all get reviews. Let me know if you want to see more shows like this. We'll be back on Monday with a new Game Over episode, followed by a brand new show. If you want to know what that's all about, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here.